Chopin enlists educational background. I played those 5 pieces and I trusted my improvisation skills. Actually, we played around this time 2 years ago. This music, listen to other music to develop our ears. Because if you would actually concentrate on, focus on what actually you should be working on. Hello everyone, welcome to the 7th episode of our 10 live stream series. As announced before, this live stream will be based on Q&As, so questions and answers. So from this point, I'm expecting from all of you for any kind of questions you have on music or in general, etc. Mostly on music would be nicer. So, and actually today, the 6th of January, is the birthday of the great composer, great Russian composer Alexander Scriabin, who is one of my favorite composers. So maybe I thought about having a live stream today with the topic of Alexander Scriabin. Maybe something of him, maybe looking at his sonatas and so on and so on. But since I didn't have enough time to prepare it as well as I would prepare it, because I wanted to do it as best as I could. So that's why maybe, let's say, for the next time, maybe for the next live stream, that's a good idea to base the next live stream on the great composer Alexander Scriabin, since it's his birthday today, 6th of January. He was born in 1872. So I will be waiting for any kind of questions you have, and you can ask me anything that you would like to know about. And if there's not yet any questions, which might be the case, because for many people maybe this live stream's time was not an available time. Many listeners that usually listen and ask questions, maybe they are busy at the moment, but which can be the case, which is completely normal and which I'm prepared for. Then I would maybe try to reconsider the questions that were asked on my different videos and try to answer them, the ones that I could not answer yet. So yeah, and one more thing before we start, you can ask questions from now, of course, would be better for the time. One more thing, since I will be going back to school and since I will have a quite busy schedule, I don't think I will have the available time to make more live streams for those 3-4 weeks. So I'm considering to start the series again, taking back from 8, 9 and 10th episodes, last 3 episodes from February in most cases. Of course, there can be an exception. Who knows, maybe if I have the available time, I could also do it earlier in the next coming weeks. So yeah, I'm waiting for your questions, guys. Any question about music, piano, anything you want to know about my education, childhood, all those things, when I started, or all those things. I'm waiting for all of your questions. If you want to know something about a piano piece that you're not sure, or a way of playing, I will try to answer as well as I could from my own experience and knowledge I have. So let's see, there was, I think, one question that I've seen. So one question that we have is, can you talk more about the composer? I'm not very familiar. Thank you for your question. I think you meant the Russian composer Alexander Scriabin. Actually, I think I already told, he's one of my favorite composers, and he's a composer that really his music was based, like many composers of course, but mainly this composer, we can see it really clearly on his philosophies. Like his music was clearly based on his ideologies about many things, like his ideas about colors, his ideas about his beliefs. And I mean, not that not that the ideas and everything that he says I completely agree maybe, but just the point that he is a really interesting and exceptional composer makes me really interested in him. And for example, his piano sonatas, he wrote 10, and all those piano sonatas, I mean, it's listening to all those piano sonatas is just completely different feeling for me. I am really interested in the idea of colors, all this atmosphere that he creates. Like his orchestral works are for me completely, I mean, really completely great, and I can actually not stop listening to them, you know, stop listening to them. Many of those orchestral pieces, like Poem of Fire, Poem of Ecstasy, like are the cases. And yeah, he was influenced. He had two periods actually, from what I remember. He had two periods. The period that he was influenced by the great composer we talked about also in the previous streams, Frédéric Chopin. And the second period he was influenced by Schoenberg and Richard Wagner. So his philosophy is also changed in many things about colors and so on, and developed in a really enormous way. So yeah, he had many he found the idea of colors with the chords he found. Generally he has his mystic chord, which really fascinates me, and it's been used all over all his pieces almost. And yeah, it's just the idea of him and his philosophies and all this connection with colors, like with poems and so on, just creating such an atmosphere, and him believing in every chord as a color, every key as a color, and so on, just makes me really interested. And there is always more to somehow, you know, experience with this composer, you know. So it's interesting, but I will be able to tell you more and more, so much easily and in depth, in more detailed, of course, if I base one of my following live streams on Alexander Scriabin or one of his works, some of his works. We will see. Second question. Let's see. Have you considered playing other instruments? Sometimes, you know, since I have a really close friend who is a violinist, you know, I'm really happy about the fact that I'm a pianist, because I think I would choose piano each time that I would have a choice, because such of capabilities we can achieve with piano. Like I think it's like an orchestra that is contained in only one instrument, and which is not really possible with any other instrument, you know, only keyboard instruments. But yeah, I think maybe I considered playing violin, because it's also like a kind of solistic instrument, and it has, of course, more repertoire. Also in the past live stream I talked about this, but it has so much more repertoire for solo, and it's more an outstanding kind of piece that is more in front. So I also like how it sounds, and the things that you can do with violin can be also more limitless than, of course, a keyboard instrument like piano. So maybe violin. I would like to learn how to play it. You know, all these things of being able to arrange such colors and arrange such tones by just the fact of playing a note in a different intonation or different vibrato and vibratos and all these things is actually quite interesting. And the idea of phrasing with the bow rather than the pianistic technique, it's quite interesting. So I would like to maybe play violin if I would be considering to play another instrument. Let's see. Have you how you practice cadential parts when the tempo is distorted? So let me think. I don't exactly understand your question, to be honest. Like, could you be more specific? Cadential parts meaning, maybe it's my fault, but just in the moment I didn't exactly get what you meant. Could you please write to me again about it in a different way? Yeah, and I hope I answered your questions in a nice way. Let's read 14 ducks. Thank you for support, and I hope I answered your question in a nice way. And Gor Baselgian, yeah, if you could ask your question again in a different way, it would be, I know that I will be capable of answering it, but I don't exactly know what you mean, so I don't want to answer to something completely different than what you meant. Should we do it like this? Yeah, maybe. Like this, we can see the keys. Okay, I'm waiting for your questions. And if you don't have any questions, if any know any more questions that are coming up, I could also answer the questions that were in my mind that people asked when I announced that I will have this live stream. There's one thing. It's funny because I'm a violinist who has considered playing piano at one point. Thank you for your answer to my question. Yeah, I'm sure violinists and pianists have this kind of this kind of thoughts oftenly, because I mean, since I had many close friendships with many violinists and so on, and many pianists, I mean, these two seems to be the more soloistic instruments compared with others. So yeah, for the people who likes to play solo on the concerts, it's really interesting to think about the other instrument. How would it be to play, to have experience in that way? Yeah, so I could answer the question that I was asked in the shorts I posted for this live stream. I was asked, I remember, if I'm Turkish. Yes, I am Turkish, and I study in Belgium. And the second question was that if I am when did I start playing? I think, yes, was it? Yeah, when I started playing. And I started playing at the age of 4. Actually, even though I was quite involved with music since my parents were also around, and they were musicians, amateur musicians, but still. So I was quite involved with music. I started at the age of 4 with my mom, and yeah. So it's nice to have parents that are really involved with music, and it's easier for the child to be more interested in music in that case. So yes. Yeah, I'm waiting for any kind of questions you have. Should I try to figure out what was said before? Okay. Two questions appeared. Okay, I will answer. Do you think that you will give piano lessons later on? Actually, I would really like to. I would really like to. I like to. I like the idea of teaching and the idea of trying to teach someone some things that I know and trying to see how they improve during that process. And I like to help people actually. Uh, I've experienced a bit this with younger friends that play the piano or that I have. I like to have the feeling of making things easier for them when they were not for me at the moment, because I like to share my experiences and I like to help people on this way. Maybe many people think like, oh man, I struggled with this, why would I make this person's life easier and give him advices to make him less struggle? But for me it's completely the opposite. I feel better if I can make if I can help someone basically with my experience to make these people struggle less and find what's the right thing to do on that moment, in my experience is. So it's, yeah, that's why I quite like teaching and the idea of teaching, and hopefully I could someday get the chance to teach. So as musicians, how traditionally we have to approach pieces in your opinion? Because when we look at history, Beethoven, who now we view as one of the greats, was called the crazy pianist of the time. Pieces in your opinion. Well, I think as pianists, saying as pianists makes a quite a big difference with as composers. Beethoven at the time was seen crazy, from what I know, mostly for his ideas of composition and maybe his character and so on. But maybe forgive me if I'm wrong about the part of playing. I don't exactly remember if they called him crazy for how he played, but I mean, as a composer now, I think you can be as free as you want and you can have any style you want and any kind of approach to composition you want, and that will make you more free and more individual, which is the most important, I think, for composing and basically showing what you stand for. And you don't even have to have a reason. I think the idea of being free in composition is just like how it should be. But as a pianist, yeah, I would say that, as I said in my last live stream, there are certain things we have to take care when we play a different someone else's composition, like different composers. There are of course many important things we have to take care of it, also connected with the culture of classical music. So there are certain things like how it should be played and how a phrase should be built and all those things, and this usually depends also on the period of time and the time we take and the rubatos we make and all those things, sound we want to create. It also depends on the period of time and of course also the composer. So in that case I would say composing freely any way you want, people calling you crazy for your compositions is fine, but as a pianist it's your choice if you want people to call you crazy for your approach. But I wouldn't support the idea of just going out of the culture and the most basic things we have to do when playing for each composer. So yeah, but of course your own thinking and your own idea about this will matter. So I hope I could answer it in there nice way. It's from my own experience and it's my own opinion. You can do, of course, whatever you want about this. Some parts that not in tempo, some passage, for example, Bach preludes, Rachmaninoff's cadenzas, how you practice, and the second, are there some unique methods that you usually practice? Said Gor, Bash, Bar Segyan, and I just answered the question of Jan Sakaolu, and yeah, great question. So, unique methods usually to practice? What do you mean? So, you mean that when there is no, when there are some parts that we cannot play in tempo, how to practice them? I mean, the simplest answer to that probably would be just to practice with metronome, because I mean it's there. I mean it's overused, I'm sure, but it's basically there to put us have the feeling of what should be in our pulses, and then yeah. But if you mean that you cannot play it in tempo that it's written, then there are ways. It can be depending on, because of the fact that you didn't practice enough, or your fingers are weak, or your fingers also can be weak for that specific passage. Then you just have to strengthen your fingers and the way you do the movement. Of course, there is different specific movements which will make it easier for each passage in each piece, probably, but then you have to learn about all those and how would be more comfortable. In general, the idea is that, as I said in the first episode of my live stream, you can check the tips for piano technique that I try to give. There I explained. In general, what you can do is relax first of all completely your body, all your joints and so on, and feel absolute connection with all those parts, from the tip of the finger to your back and with your whole body, and then depending on the part that you need tension and you need to be considering any part of the body, any specific part of the body, then you should be giving tension to that part of the body and concentrating on using that part of the body more. Maybe some part needs more arm for breathing, and maybe some part needs more wrist, and of course flexibility of the wrist, flexibility of the arms and so on is always necessary. Strong fingers, activation of fingers is always necessary. Depending on the place, you can have less activation in the fingers if you want to create different colors, so on and so on and so on. It's all like this with every part of the body. But I would just say, if you cannot play a passage in tempo that is really difficult, just try to practice it slowly, relaxed. Practice it slowly, relaxed. Maybe if you have tempo problems with metronome, relax with all your body and use body weight, and you can practice many passages like forte with actually like if you think that it's like finger technique, there are many places with finger technique and there are many places with jumps and so on, so it's different. With finger technique passages, if you mean you should try to achieve so that your activation of fingers and the pressure you have with your fingers is in the right way, and you have strong fingers, basically, like just activation from the fingers rather than tension from whole body to be able to play. If it's a finger passage, then just improve on your finger technique. You can improve your finger technique, and you can work on it with scales like Russian thirds and so on, and arpeggios also, I think. Yeah, all those could help. So thank you for another comment. Thank you so much, Mahmoud Isidoro. So yeah, so you say Goro Bar Segyan says I don't mean I can't. I mean there are some parts in the romantic period music that are not in the meter, for example, bass preludes. There are cadenzas, improvisation parts, not only romantic period. So what you asked is basically when it's written like cadenzas and so on, that they are not giving tempo indications or giving tempo indications. I mean, this also depends on the piece, you know. Depending on the period of time, depending on the composer, this also depends on the piece. I would say, of course, you can be free on those cadenza improvisation places, but you should have the pulse always. You should have always the pulse that just doesn't make you just lose it completely, you know. You can experiment, you can do all those things, you can play in the way you want, create the effect, atmosphere, color you want, but you should always have the pulse. The pulse is not metronome always, but rather the beat that you can feel, literally, that makes the place that you're free structured. You know, you can be free, you can take time, but then you have to maybe take it back a bit to keep with the pulse. All those things. You can be flexible, but be careful how much you're flexible, because it's also important, and how much you're allowed to be flexible by how is it being allowed, being flexible with tempo on with that composer, and in what kind of way, you know. Maybe it's not rubatos, maybe it's a bit the feeling of accelerando or retardando and then taking tempo back. I mean, there can be different examples for this. But I hope I answered your question in a nice way, that you got some ideas about it. Thank you for your questions, everyone. Yeah, okay. I'm pleased to answer all those questions, and thank you so much for creating such a warm atmosphere in this live stream. I'm waiting for any more questions if you have, and if there's no more, maybe I could end this live stream in some minutes, but I will be waiting a bit more. But so far, I think it was nice, because I like to talk about things, and like especially music, and discuss, because it's always nice to brainstorm and just restructure your ideas about things, you know, even about music. And also it's of course also nice to brainstorm with other people, like other musicians. It actually contributes a lot to both two people that discuss about music. Contributes a lot. Some things that you don't know, the other one knows, and some things that he doesn't know, you know. All those things are really useful and really nice. I really enjoyed it. So it's kind of similar atmosphere in this live stream, so I like it. So one more question by 14 Ducks. Do you have some pieces that you recommend from the composer you mentioned earlier, Alexander Scriabin, I think you mean? And do you plan on performing them later on? I am now, it's a really nice question. It's on point, because now I'm actually practicing the second sonata of Alexander Scriabin, second piano sonata, Sonata Fantasy. And yeah, I will perform it quite soon. Hopefully, yes. I will perform it quite soon, and it's actually a big pleasure working on this piece for me. I played previously an etude from Alexander Scriabin, but not much. I read his pieces, I read some of his sonatas, like third sonata, fourth sonata. I mean, read meaning not always also all the movements, but just generally sight reading, just for my own pleasure. But yes, I'm now working on the second sonata, and hopefully soon I will upload it on my YouTube channel. Yeah, maybe like a month's time. Let's see how it goes. So if you have any more questions, I'm still waiting for them. if you want more of these Q&A live streams, you can tell me. It's easier to do a Q&A live stream just without a huge amount of preparation, as you can guess. So maybe if you want more live streams on this month, since I will be really busy, maybe I would be only able to do such Q&As, but not live streams with that I will need more preparation for. Not related to music, but when is your birthday? Okay, so my birthday is actually now 18 years ago, around from now, the 30th of April 2006. So I will be 18 this year. I mean, if you would buy a birthday gift, I would not complain about it. Since you asked, no, okay. So yes. Yeah. So since there is not anymore, I believe, any questions, maybe it's time to say goodbye. And as I said, for 1 month, around 1 month till February, I will not probably, I mean, there's a big possibility I will not be able to do any more live streams for 1 month. There's like, let's say it's a little break, since I will be quite busy. So we will start in February, probably with the 8th, 9th and 10th episode, the last 3. And yeah, just comment if you want more Q&As, or any kind of content that I had before, or any ideas you would want me to you would want to give me. I could not speak. Yeah, and I will work on them. I will prepare them. I will try to have those live streams in the best way possible that I could. So take care, and yes, you can always ask me any kind of questions you have by commenting on some of my videos, or just commenting on some of my live streams, and so on. And I hope you had a really nice time in this live stream, because I had. Thank you for again and again such a nice atmosphere, and I'm always having a lot of pleasure talking about music. So take care and have a nice week, have a nice month. If I don't see you until February live. There is one more question. Thank you for the live, of course. One more question. Let's see. The hardest pieces for piano. Honestly, I don't like that question. You know, it's relative, but in your opinion, which works are there that are top hardest pieces for piano? Let's answer it fast. I mean, I cannot say specifically the hardest pieces just like this, but I mean, there is the hardest pieces, meaning, I guess it more depends on the fact of hard in which way, difficult in which way, musicality, technically, maturity you need, or sound production, all those things, you know. But I think in that case, I mean, I don't have a clear opinion on that, so just let's say in maturity and in technique and all those things, the amount of difficulty in that piece will differentiate. So if you analyze how difficulty one piece is, you should consider all those aspects, you know. So see you guys, and take care. See you probably in February for the 8th episode, and take care. Thank you for such nice atmosphere again. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your questions.